And section 2 now, aura type, strategy and authority, and correct type to type interaction. So now for brand newcomers to design, I want you to know that it doesn't matter what your design is. What matters is how you live it. This is a quote from Ra that I found really impactful in the beginning, that a lot of times people will look, before I start to describe the types, especially if you haven't discovered this before, people will look at the types and evaluate which one they like better and wish they were that other type rather than the type that they are. So there is no better type. We all have our own unique differentiation, and the one that you have is perfect for you because that's what it is. So when we look through these types, these 4 different basic types, there are tons of subtypes and millions of variations of those subtypes. The 4 basic types, all it does is it shows us a generality from which we can extrapolate or take out the strategy for correct decision making, okay? So the strategy comes from the type. That specific frequency of energy shows us a unique aura pattern and its function in what it does, what it's here for. So you experiment with strategy, which gives you a key into experiencing the spirit, the abundance of your type for decision making, so that you align with your life, what the life that's correct alignment for you. So your strategy points you the way of being in the world. That was weird. This tool helps you to come to know your uniqueness as well as accept and love your differences. Tool being human design. It's a technique. It's a tool. That's all it is. It's a way of sourcing into your unique form. So now we have 4 types. The manifestor type here is the type that is here to innovate and inform, get things started, make things happen. The generator type is the vast majority of our population. And these are people who are here to respond with energy and vitality, to take that innovation, that whatever they've been asked to do, or whatever they respond to do, take that and do the doing. As long as they're satisfied, it's going to be something that is successful for them or gives them a feeling of their own personal identity or who they are for themselves. That's what they're here to do, is use their energy up with activities that they're passionate about and that they enjoy. They are the builders of our world. Now, when you look at a projector, which is a lot less of the population, more than manifestor, far less than generator, projector is a type that is here to master some kind of system. Most times it's the human environment, somehow, some way of taking a system and applying it to understanding other people, maybe other things, but oftentimes it's how do people work? Who are those people? And they're here to advise. This is their role. They're here to advise when they're recognized and invited. These are our guides. And then the reflector is a very, very rare, unique type. Only 1% of the population. And that is the type of person who is here to be at the center of their community, evaluate the totality, what's healthy, who's different, what's going on here, to really see the surprise and the delight in what life has to offer them. They have this deep connection with the cosmos, designed to have their head in the clouds, if you could look at it that way, where they're really in touch and in tune with the broad areas of humanity, not designed to be focused in on specific other people. That's where we get disappointment for the reflector. But actually, that openness that they have is here to take in life and reflect it. They're reflectors. They are evaluators. So the words that I've used, I mentioned earlier in this experience with you guys, is that the words that I've used have come from, in addition to manifestor, generator, projector, and reflector, have come from the BG5 career and business languaging of the human design system. So manifestor, here to innovate, innovators as a career type. Generators, here to respond, here to build, builder as a career type. Now there are all kinds of different subtypes below these. This is just, again, the general broad stroke. Projector, here to advise, advisors as a career type. Reflector, here to evaluate, evaluators as a career type. So you can kind of feel into using that languaging. You notice that the BG5 language has a little bit more of a descriptive flavor to how we evaluate, how we look at each of these types, how we describe them. So what we're going to do is briefly go through their strategy, their quote unquote not self theme when they're making decisions not in alignment with themselves, and the question that they're here to be focused on in order to really source into yourself and discover who you are for yourself, who you are for the other, how you're here to impact, and actually what you're here to experience. Who is different? Am I different? Yes, you are very different as a reflector. So let's go through this in order. Manifestor, innovator, informing before action means that if they know or they recognize or they contemplate how they impact others first, and then they inform them, they're going to avoid the not self theme of anger, either anger from within themselves or anger reflected from the outside world, because they're going to be able to operate in peace if they inform before they act. Now, this may sound very simple, but for the manifestor type, it's the last thing they want to do or have been convinced that there is a need to do. Like they just don't have it in their nature. This is a way, the strategy was a way that Ra discovered that a manifestor could start to operate in peace. So he put this into place. Inform before you act. And before you act, how do you impact others? Your existential question focuses you in on how you are aligned to experience the spirit of your aura type. Spirit here for manifestor being peace, the signature of peace. That's your spirit shining out of you if you are a manifestor. Operating in peace and alignment, most likely you informed before you act and you considered what your impact would be on others. So taking the Living Your Design Awakening helps you discover what your impact is. Where do you impact and how? Now, generator and manifesting generator, you can see that generator here, same name, same strategy, slightly different here, same existential question. The reason for that is their auric type, the basic frequency is the same in that it's open and enveloping rather than closed and repelling. And we're going to talk more about that when we get to the different slides that I have prepared for you. So generator type, because it's not here to impact and initiate, it's here to respond. If the generator type would wait for life to ask of it what it needs of it and then follow its response only, not the mental machinations of what it thinks it should do, especially what it thinks it should initiate or make happen in its life, it's going to avoid, you as a generator, going to avoid frustration and potentially anger, because depending on your design as a manifesting generator, you may have anger as a result of not making decisions in alignment with who you are for yourself. So your existential question that you focus yourself on in order to experience satisfaction in your life is, who am I? Am I responding to doing this activity that's being presented to me? Now, it may be a direct asking from someone else, or it may be just life asking it of you. You're responding to the sunshine and going outside and the imagination of what it would be like to be walking next to a waterfall today as a response to life. So can you wait? Look at all of the rest of us. Wait. Besides the manifestor, can you wait for life to have its movement of correct alignment and action energy flowing through you? Can you wait for life to bring forth from you the correct action in alignment with yourself, who you are for yourself? That's a question for you, my friends, my generator friends. And we're going to specifically go into, if you take this course, and Chaz is taking the course, how she's here to respond. How is it that your response is going to align you to the satisfaction in life that you really, really, and truly are here for? Because it's not everything that you're here for, just a specific, specialized gift that you have to offer the world. Each of us has a gift. The projector gift is to advise, so we need to wait for the invitation to advise, because who likes to be told anything about how to make things better if it hasn't been asked for, right? Don't just barge in and share your wisdom with other people. That gives you bitterness for sure. Because your wisdom is not for everybody. Just because you see something, projector, my friends, just because you see how something could be made different, or what you think is more efficient, doesn't mean that it's correct for the other person. If they're recognizing and inviting you and asking you of your guidance and your gift, then when you're focusing on who that other person is, asking them questions, probing them, sensing what the data that you're getting from them, you're able, in recognition, in invitation, to successfully guide that other person to discover who they are for themselves, how they impact others, who the other people are in their lives. That's what we're here for as projectors, really tuned into who goes where, what goes where, the direction a lot of times that people need to go in, need to be guided to, because we see big picture view. And we have our success in life through interaction with those who are ready for us to guide them, not for the vast majority of people, just specific people. Okay, so that's our strategy. Wait for recognition and invitation. And if you take this course, the recognition and invitation is unique to every single projector, because every single projector is unique. So we're not all waiting for the same recognition. Oh, I recognize you can give me some advice. What is it? No, it's not that broad. It is very, very specific. You're going to start to learn how to hear when people are recognizing you from your design when you move through this course, rather than the openness and trying to behave or be somebody out there in the openness. Now, our reflectors, waiting for a full lunar cycle, this is very different from the other types, because these people are very much connected up with the moon. They have a very special relationship with the moon, because the moon is the only consistency that they have moving through their design, through their entire life. That lunar pattern is like clockwork. Every month, it's the same. If they do not allow themselves to evaluate who is different, to be in touch with the totality, they focus in on trying to keep up with all the other types, or trying to focus in on just this one person. You know, it may be that they experience disappointment because they are not here to be any of the other types, because they are not. They are very special, very unique and gifted. So there's, and again, that's the evaluator, the reflector's evaluator, evaluating who is different. So we're going to go into some slides that I've prepared after this one. That's going to show you the correct, and remember what I said in the beginning, we have this evaluation, good, bad, correct, incorrect. The best way I can describe it for me personally is aligned or not. So I'm going to show you how we separate those 4 core types into 2 separate types, share a little bit more about that, and then we're going to go into how the type-to-type interaction happens. So our energy types, please type into the chat if you know this. I'm going to take a drink. Energy types, what are they? And if my Facebook Live is working, I do not know, but let's see. Energy types, what are the energy types? Thank you. Yes, generator and manifester are our energy types. Generators and manifestors. There's 2 different kinds of generators, basically. Below that, we can subtype them all kinds of different ways, but basically, we have pure generators, or manifesting generators. This includes generators who have manifesting potentials or pure manifesting generators. Those are the core of our energy types. Why are they an energy type? Because the sacral center, or our life force energy, the energy resource function in our body graph, is always colored in. It's on. It has something that it's here to respond to building. Now the manifester, whoops, I have to fix that. The manifester has energy connected up to the throat, the world of form, to manifest. So that's why they are energy types too. Now what we have called non-energy types makes it seem like there's something wrong. Oh, they don't have that. And it's not that they don't have energy at all. If they were completely non-energy, they wouldn't exist, would they? Because they'd have no life force, right? We all have some kind of life force within us. The projector life force has some kind of consistency between two or more centers. That is not the energy resource of the sacral, and it is not energy moving up to the throat. I have a chat in the way, so I wasn't really pointing correctly there. So energy moving up to the throat. These types, reflector and projector, are here to have awareness of energy. These types are here to have an availability to amplifying these energies for short periods of time. So it's not that there's anything lacking or missing here or here, either. That everyone has their own place. But the quote unquote non-energy types, usually, always with the reflector and usually with the projector, will have a lot of openness to taking in the experiences that they're having with other people, amplifying that energy. So like tasting, absorbing, really knowing who that other person is one of the gifts of the projector. And then reflector, just being able to sample that energy. So there's the two fundamentally, basically different subgroups of the four types: energy, non-energy, / we could call it awareness, so that you don't feel like you're missing out on something. And that's not to say that generators and manifestors don't have awareness. Sometimes they have defined centers that are designed to have a particular kind of awareness, and sometimes they're open to amplifying awareness as well. But all of the cases, generators have consistent access to responding with energy. Manifestors have consistent access to innovating or impacting with their energy, getting things started. So you could probably already know this, but you can tell, even if you're brand new to this, that manifestors have a unique job, don't they? Because they were the only people in our group here that didn't have to wait. Manifestors are the ones that make something happen out in the world. The rest of us, if we're trying to make something happen out in the world, most likely we're going to end up right here, because we're not in alignment with what's correct for our design. And as you go through this course, you're going to learn more about why your design is in one of these categoric auric types and how it functions, how your aura functions. So let's dive into the manifestor a little bit here. I think that we're about an hour out. Yet we're an hour out from starting. So before I go into this, I just want to pause and see if there's any more questions. And this is part of what you've been waiting for. So most likely you guys already know this for the most part. I think I have, let's see, Milena, Polly, okay. Kathy didn't make it today. Everybody okay, question-wise? Please feel free to unmute if you are in the class and you're participating moving forward. So manifestor. Manifestor type can be someone who is looked at as an uncontrollable kind of person because they have energy. This is the willpower energy connected up to the throat. They might have emotional energy connected up to the throat, or they might have other ways that energy gets up to the throat somehow, some way. Like Ra. Ra was an ego, willpower, manifestor. So these people, most times when they're growing up, felt like other people were perhaps negatively impacted by their decision making, because they could just go out and do. And sometimes those people who felt like, well, why are you doing that? Like, I don't understand. Why didn't you ask? Why didn't you inform? That is one of the dilemmas of the manifestor. Because they can go out and do, just doesn't mean that they should in that moment. It depends on their strategy or their authority, where it's coming from, and how they're interfacing with the other person. Glad it's clear, Milena. So what we're looking at is somebody who was conditioned from birth as a child that they had to be controlled. Their parents recognized that this was a wild creature, like this had a fire. This manifestor has a fire burning within that can create, innovate, impact, that can make these things happen. And what happens is, over time in the conditioning, their fire is beaten down, and they don't recognize that they have this gift, most likely. So what we need to do with manifestors is empower them to know that they can initiate, that it's okay to inform other people that this is the impact that they want to make. So this is the switch that we need to turn on for the manifestor to empower them to be themselves. Go ahead and inform when you've considered your impact. Inform that this is the impact that you're going to make, that this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to initiate. This is how you're going to innovate. That's your job, your role as a manifestor. So now if that's the person that gets everything started, doesn't it make sense that everybody else, when they're waiting, everybody else gets to go to that source of innovation? If they're attracted to it, hi, I'm a projector. I discovered raw after researching all over the internet and evaluating everybody else, like, who are you? What's your, what's your deal? How do you speak this stuff? And then finding raw and going, I'm home. This is the person I want to learn from, So that's what happened with me. He didn't specifically go, hey, Lavina, Andrea at the time, because he was gone already by that point. But my invitation into the system came from someone else, an energy type, a different kind of energy type, who said, you need to know this stuff, as soon as he discovered that I was a projector and not a generator, the fake generator that I was pretending to be. So that was my invitation. It wasn't specifically from that person, but it was, here, study this, check this out, see if it works for you. So now, if we're looking at the type-to-type interaction, I have some other images on the slide here. You're going to see, where's my little pen, that here's the manifestor, closed and repelling aura, dense aura, hugging the body. Dense because it needs to make an impact in the world. So it's going to initiate first with our generators. Here's the generator aura. Remember that red sacral center right there, the energy resource colored in. This is the generator being informed by the manifestor, informing the manifestor, giving the generator something to respond to. And then the yellow line is going back to the manifestor, because it's a two-way street communication, isn't it? You need to keep the manifestor informed. That's the best way to interface with the manifestor. Do not initiate, let them approach you, and then keep them informed of their impact on you. That's the best way. You can see right down the list, it's the same with every single other type. Our manifestors need to initiate the projectors, and the projectors, once they utilize their authority, need to inform the manifestor, keep the manifestor informed. Manifestor needs to initiate the reflector, and then the reflector can keep the manifestor informed. So type-to-type interaction depends on what type you're interfacing with, right? And the manifestor always goes first. Does that make sense to everybody? And let me know if you have any questions. I apologize if you're in the Facebook group, because I can't see your questions right now. It's too much to keep track of chat and everything else. All cool? Okay. So Jamie, this is one of the slides that I've added since you've taken this course. Hope that that's helpful. It was from another course that I took on child development analyst training. I Found that really helpful. It was on, all of them was on one side. I've separated it out into each of the different aura types because I like taking it step by step. So here's our generator type. Now you notice the difference between the image here. It doesn't really tell much of a difference because you can still see that right there. I would, as if I was the artist, I would remove these two layers and just keep it right here, this nice strong core of energy that has this ability to impact. Now with the manifesting generator and the generator, this should be doubled. It should be way out here because this generator aura is the largest energy field that we have. This energy, the sacral center energy, has this pulses out, that spirals in, this spiral that draws things in for it to respond to. The generator frequency has this warm, enveloping, like an auric bear hug that just wraps around you. It pulls in for you to respond. There's a magnetism about your kind of aura. There's a porousness about your aura, like a direct opposite from what the manifestor aura is like. It's a porousness that lets you feel so that you can respond. It lets you experience so that you can respond. So some of you have a response that is instant in the moment, and there's about half of you that have a response that happens that you need to feel out over time if this center is colored in. But all of you have this red square colored in. All of you have a specific way, depending on which way these gates are aligned in a channel and defining two different centers. There's these different ways that you're here to respond consistently. Your life force, your thematic of what you're here to be for yourself is seen in the definition. Which channel is it? How are you here to consistently respond to what life asks of you? That's your gift. That's what you broadcast. Now, there may be other centers colored in and other additions or nuances and flavors to what you are for who you are for yourself. But that's your aura type. It's very, very different from the type of energy. It's almost like they're diametrically opposed from the manifestor. Whereas the manifestor has this natural protective shell, the generator does not. You are being affected by everything that comes into contact with you. So are you feeling that response happening? It may be a sound, it may be a feeling, or are you feeling something that is, there's no response, or there's a definite, like this is not correct. Attuning to your energy rather than what your mind thinks about what's happening, attuning to your own physical form and honoring that, that's your challenge and your gift. Okay, so wait for response means that, oh yeah, there's the satisfaction and thing that didn't show up in the last with the manifestor. I need to add that. So it means that now that we're looking at this, you know how this works, where we have the manifestor now here that is going to initiate the generator. And then the generator is going to inform the manifestor. Now here, look at this generator. This is one of those interesting things where who goes first? Officially, because they are an energy type, they need to recognize the projector. Now, the interesting thing about projectors is that their gift is recognizing others. So let's imagine that two people walk into, make sure I have time for this. Yep. Two people walk into a room. Maybe they're at a coffee shop and the generator is there ordering, and the projector walks in as well. And they recognize that draw of the generator. They feel this auric warmth, this magnetism to the generator. And they look over at the generator feels the auric pointedness of the projector's recognition, and the projector and the generator meet eyes, and there's an instant recognition, and they both smile at each other. Who went first? Well, the ideal thing is not to initiate vocal contact as a projector. Wait for that person, that generator, to ask, to invite, to recognize. And even if they initiate conversation with you, do not make that conversation about yourself. That's not what they're interested in. And isn't that like one of the common recommendations anyway? Don't talk about yourself. You know, other people like to talk about themselves. Well, yeah, this is the status usually of a generator. They're concerned with who am I for myself, and projector is concerned with who are you. And so there becomes this nice conversation perhaps between these two. So the projector, rather than initiating or offering to the generator, wait for the generator to ask you for something. Specifically, do not offer your whatever, your energy to that generator. I remember, here's an example. I remember taking Living Your Design, ABC, and Cartography again in person in Mount Shasta. And, you know, eager me, was 2013. So excited. No, it was the second time was in, or that was my third time because I took it with a lock, but in person was my first time. It was 2014. And I was so excited and so eager to be in class, and like, yes, you know, I kept offering to my generator, can I do this for you? Because she was not feeling well. Can I take these and make copies for you? Can I, you know, and she said, hey, if I need something from you, I will ask. And that was a big, like, oh, okay. If they want something of you, it's not your energy that they're looking for. It's your awareness of what your perspective is about a situation, an experience, their experience, who they are. That's what they're looking for from you. So we got to get away from projectors feeling like you need to have any kind of recognition. You're feeling starved for energy and recognition, so you'll offer to try and get that energy or accolades or appreciation or validation or justification of you and your worth. It's not what you need to do with our energy types. Wait for specific questions if you can. It's an experiment. Just wait and see what happens. Over time, as you have more and more experiences with this dynamic in person, you'll get to experience what it feels like and discover the nuances and subtleties for you. And when we go through this, you're going to look at your charts, and I'll tell you exactly what your specialty or your gift is and where you're open to giving out wisdom as well. So you can see with the generator, initiating the reflector, and then the reflector asking back the generator, always needing to ask back the generator, whether you're a projector or a reflector, so that you can really help them have their discovery of their response. Their process is response. So honoring the generator type means we get to ask them how that's landing on them, how they're feeling about it if they're emotional, what their instinct or their intuition is about something. So asking them a yes/no question really helps them discover what their response is for themselves. So that's our correct type-to-type interaction. Any questions on that? Because I know I went a little bit into deep here because there's a special kind of interaction between projector and generator. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Okay. So our projector type, you can see in the Oryx artist's rendition of the auric field frequency of the projector. Now we have an aura that's pointed. It's pointed in on who that other person is. And what tends to happen as a child is, because a lot of times these people are very sensitive to energy, because they're all the time open to this, amplifying this energy here, they're going to be able to really get a sense for the energetics of someone else. It's like they're in tune, they're in touch with the other person. They're interested, they're focused on the other person, because that's the way their energy likes to move. Now, some of us, I am a personal perspective person. Now, some of us have a little bit different way of perceiving that interest in the other, but it's still all of us focused in on who that other person is. Why? Because that's what we're here to help discover, the success of interaction with the other, with our relationships. We're here to master our human environment. The experiences we have with others have a lot to do with our awareness of who they are. if we're trying to initiate, oftentimes it comes to an experience of bitterness, not the sweetness of success in life, but bitterness because we're trying to inform, impact, innovate, generate, be everything that we're not. So this projector type, then, you probably already know this, but in alignment with the way that we've been exploring the energy types versus them, we gotta wait for the manifester to initiate and then inform the manifester. We need to wait for the generator to recognize and invite, and then we ask back the generator. We need to initiate our reflectors. That's the only ones where we can, hey, check this out. Hey, can I invite? Hey, can I, just or with our fellow projectors. Now there's multiple different kinds of subtypes of projectors. And then below those subtypes, there's different authorities. So projectors are really, really diverse and complex. And I'm going to do a whole separate section just on projectors at some point that you guys are all invited to. But that's not part of LYD. We're going to discuss all of these types on 2 different occasions separately. And you can always ask throughout the class, throughout the next few months on specific interactions. But for the projector, this is really complex. And again, remember, it's an experiment. So the biggest thing to remember in the beginning as a projector, particularly if you've got an undefined throat, meaning this throat center communication and action function is not colored in, if you can hold back that voice or those actions that you've been initiating or, trying to make things happen in your life, you could just hold them back for a little bit for this experiment, for these next 2.5 months. And listen to what the other person is saying and what your mind is saying inside of your head. You'll recognize the not self strategies that we're going to go over for all of the undefined centers. And you'll recognize the way that your mind is trying to get you to make things happen or generate life force when that's not what you're here to do. So if you keep living out here, you never get to experience, or here or any of these open places, depending on your design, you never get to experience the uniqueness of this actually functioning in alignment. If you're not honoring your strategy, wait for recognition and invitation of your specific gifts and aligning with whatever your authority happens to be. In this case, it's a person's solar plexus, their emotional frequency, their wave, their recognition of what's most supportive for their tribe, the bargain that they're here to make, they're here to negotiate. That's their gift in a general sense. Okay, so having an alignment with what the projector is now, we can move on into the reflector. We're still good on time. So our reflector, we're right about to finish. So the surprise in life that the reflector is here to experience is that discovery of who is different. How are they different? Can they be themselves in this moment? Who are they in this moment? They're going to discover that it's so different than every single other person on this planet. Even reflectors that have the exact same design are very different from each other. And their not self theme of disappointment is here to give them, all of our not self themes is here to give us signposts. These are the signposts that show us whether we're on track or off track. Oops, I clicked too quickly. On track or off track. Okay, so what we're looking at with the reflector is, when they were growing up, most likely they wanted to be like everybody else because they're so open. They're open to reflecting, amplifying everything in the world. And you can see that because we've already gone over this, you recognize, you already know this, that every other type, these solar types, we call them because they're so different, they have, look, definition creates life force. These are the only kinds of people that have consistency in their designs compared to these people. The reflector is a very ancient kind of being, very open, flexible to the totality of what life experience has to offer them. Life is always, always changing for them. Always changing for them. So they're here as evaluators to discern difference. Look at the difference in the way that the artist conceptualized the auric frequency. It's not touching that other person. It's allowing something to come in for it to sample. That's it. It's like see how the projector has this pointedness into the other person? Reflector does not have that. It's got a natural barrier, just like the manifester does. Natural barrier. Whereas these two, and I have another slide for that, have a nice partnership that's possible potentially if they are in alignment and it's correct for them. So let's move forward now into this last slide that I'm going to leave you with before I end with the teaching portion for today, I believe. And then I'm going to go into further resources if you're a newbie. Okay, and I'm going to address some questions from the people who are continuing in this journey for the next 2.5 months. So our aura type gives us a strategy for making decisions that are in alignment with how our form is intended to function based on the uniqueness in our design. Strategy helps to protect us. Not all the time with projector. That's why I advise especially those with undefined throat, to experiment strongly, especially in the beginning, with your strategy of recognition and invitation. Because it's not always going to protect us, but for the most part, it does. It keeps us from initiating, from doing things from mind until we start to fall into alignment, and then we would never think of making decisions from the pain, the suffering, the attempting to control that comes from the outside world. The openness in your design is reflected in your mind's talking to yourself about yourself. That's all conditioning. You cannot believe what the story is inside of your head about yourself. And I'll show you in the next few months the conditioning, the ways that your mind is trying to convince you that you should not, as an example, wait to be invited. No, I have to make things happen. If I don't, then nothing's going to happen for me. Well, actually, your aura probes and penetrates. That's what it does no matter what. No matter who you're with, it's going to take in that other person deeply. With the generator, it is way deeper than a reflector or manifester. Their auras have a natural protective field that can be very different to get into as a projector. You can feel it when you're in aura. Now, the aura being what it is, taking in the other, almost like we're eating them as far as taking in their energy frequency, that penetration allows us, gives us our focus on who that other person is, and allows us to be conditioned. Not allow, it makes us conditioned. We're the only type that is here to deliberately be conditioned, and that's where we get our gift of being able to recognize. Recognition and invitation is a two-way street. There needs to be a mutual recognition there, because let's see, if that other person, who are you, that other person is not in alignment, then you need to be able to use your authority, pull back, and not engage. That's what really protects you, is using your authority to decide whether or not someone is right for you. So me as a projector who's emotional, takes a long time for me to decide, no matter who that other person is, if they're right for me. It might take me months, it might take me years, but that ability to decide eventually and use your own authority, that's the gift of utilizing the system, human design. So generators need to wait to respond. That response, aligning to your response, is what protects you. Responding in that moment or over time if they're emotional. Your aura cannot protect you when you initiate. If you're initiating, it's coming from pressure from outside of your form, your system. It's not coming from your authority. It's not being, you've not been asked, and so you don't have a recognition of whether or not it's correct for you. You get engaged in things that lead to dissatisfaction or frustration. So, projector, here to help others to success. Generator, here to be satisfied with who they are for themselves. Reflector, this resilient and sampling aura, needs that 28-day moon cycle to know who or what is correct for it. And that reflector is here to sample everybody, everything, not just people, but the totality. because they are open here, all of them. And so they're very gifted with being able to amplify the location, not just the people, but the location that they're in. So they are barometers for the health of our communities, these reflectors. And their strategy of waiting for a full lunar cycle of the moon protects them from engaging in something that will lead them to disappointment. Our manifestors, that aura pushing outward, having this energy to impact and innovate. If they were to inform before acting, that aura repelling and have impact, it's not an uncomfortable impact. That informing is something that will educate the other person what to expect. You know, if somebody's about to whack a bug off your shoulder and you're just sitting at your computer, somebody walks up, hey, I'm going to whack a bug off your shoulder. That impact on your shoulder, though startling, is not going to hurt you. It's not going to cause anger. You're going to be grateful. Oh, thank you, manifestor, for getting rid of that bug, right? But if you don't inform and you just run around acting, boy, you're going to come into a contact with a lot of anger. And you're not going to be able to have that peaceful way of aligning to what's right for you to initiate if you don't act, inform before you act. Okay. So that is our lecture piece. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I put anything else. Because of course yes, this is the authority piece. So we're right at time. 90 minutes is, and we started a few minutes late, but 90 minutes is the class time that I want to have with you guys. For right now, I want to see if there's any questions before I wrap up for today. And I'm going to continue on because I have energy and some time with the rest of the presentation, but you absolutely do not have to stay, because what I'll most likely do is cut it up into something later if it comes out really well. It's just different slides. I like doing new and improved, new slides and whatnot. And of course, staying on to answer your questions. So any questions on the topic for today, please feel free to unmute or raise your hand or chat. More interaction between projector and manifestor. And what is the specific question, Melina? Because it's better if I get specifics on the interfacing that you would like to know about. I'm going to just go here since I'm speaking from the projector perspective. I can share stories with you as an example. And please feel free to write a question, Melina, when you have a specific. Here's an example. I was recognized and invited by Alakan Diaz to co-teach a Living Your Design group with him right out of school. If I had not had his energy and backing, I would not have had the pressure or the energy to get my presentation done, to advertise, if you look at my design, I would have waited and not had this, thinking I need more depth. I don't have the skills yet. I need more depth because I have gate 48 twice and I don't have the 16. So that's one way. Now, I was still very deeply conditioned at this point. And I remember him inviting me into his Living Your Design ABC cartography in Sedona. And I didn't have the energy, money to go at that time. Wasn't really clear on it. So I attended it online. But before I wasn't really clear on it, I attended it online. Before that, I initiated. I said, hey, I could teach an LYD in person. I think he was just doing ABC and cartography, actually, now that I remember, because I was like, I could teach an LYD in person. I didn't wait for him to ask me. And I knew what I was doing, but at the same time, it's like, oh, well, he invited me, right? But he didn't specifically invite me to an LYD, to teach an LYD. And here I am telling him about all of the, lectures I've given and standing up in front of hundreds of people and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's an example of what not to do. I discover what's not to do. So what I see writing is that I feel like I'm waiting all the time for a manifestor to initiate, and I have no idea what the manifestor is up to. So in that case, Melina, my recommendation, if this is somebody that you're in relationship with, meaning the manifestor has initiated you into this relationship with them, and you're feeling frustrated, bitter, whatever it happens to be for you, that they're not keeping informed, you let them know of your impact, of their impact. You let them know if you have an already established relationship with that manifester. Do you see what I mean? So the way you keep a manifester in your life is you keep them informed if they've already initiated. And remember what I said at the very beginning. This is the type that has been trained out of their fire. They've been, beaten down from their manifesting capacity, and they're attempting to be generators. They don't know that they're here to go first. So if you're studying design, they're not into it. They don't know that they have to keep you informed. So obviously, that's something that if they're asking you about it, you can educate them on, right? So that's my recommendation. Does that help or make sense? Anybody else have questions about, you're welcome, each of the different interfaces of type-to-type interaction? All right. So my friends, that was it for our new content for the day. And for those of you who are in the class that you're moving forward with us, I'm going to give you information to prepare for next week. I've already done, the intro to human, the basic intro that I usually do multiple times. So if everybody's already seen that, we can just do a Q&A on that and do most of our intros and talking about our designs and our experiences for next week, okay? So the last piece here, and you're welcome to go anytime, all of us have an authority that we are each designed to make decision from. The vast majority of us, it's a place within our body that we can go home to. That is our unique authority that we can trust. So all of us have this potential for the most part. If it's not within our bodies, it's either a process of interfacing with the environment, the moon as a reflector, or it's a process of interfacing with other people, multiple people. If you're a mental projector, that's their process. Everyone else has an authority within their body you can physically feel. And the strategy is going to give you when to make the decision. The authority is the key to decision making. So in this course, we're going to cover each of the centers and talk about them as an authority. Understanding where your individual authority lies is critical to understanding how you are designed to make decision correctly. So where is it? Where is your authority? That's what we're going to be really focused in on for you so that you understand it for you. Our individual authority is activated through strategy that's appropriate to our type. That's how the authority gets activated. And you'll understand, you'll experience this viscerally for the most part. Most of you already have, if you're not brand new to human design. So in Ra's words, follow your strategy, honor your personal authority, and you will find the ability to love yourself.